Hi, sixth graders. So today is the day we are going to be finishing up our stream study. And this is the most important part to me because this is where you tell me what you know about what we've been collecting evidence for and answering our overall question. Is the Skunk River healthy or is it not healthy? So this is where you tell me. So here is the directions to the stream study conclusion. You should each have your own copy of this. It has 3 holes on the side, which means it should all end up in your binder. So here are the directions for your conclusion. It says, finally, we are to the point that we can make a conclusion with our stream study. Throughout this whole stream study, we have been working towards one goal, determining if our hypothesis is correct. Using the checkpoints or the check boxes that I have included, they are on the next page, you will be crafting a conclusion for this stream study. So you're going to be writing this paragraph style on a Google Doc. The assignment is on Google Classroom. You should be able to write your conclusion there. Because this stream study was a very big assignment from start to finish, I would expect that the conclusion would be at least 3/4 of a page. This usually ends up being like 8 to 10 sentences, sometimes more. You can certainly write more if you want, but you definitely don't want to skimp on this because I really want to figure out what you've learned from this. And if you don't write enough, it's hard for me to figure out what you know. What I expect and the rubric for this assignment can be found on the back page. This is in bold. The rubric is exactly how I will be grading your conclusion. This is no secret. I will be going through the rubric and I'll be circling what I think you got. And you can look at the rubric and kind of grade yourself and see what you need to do. That's the whole point. So let's go to the back. So here's the important part for you. It tells you what you need to include and how you're going to be graded. So the first part is like, what do you need in your conclusion? Well, I made this checkbox system so you can check and see what you have. First thing I want you to do is tell me what the purpose of the study was. Why were we at the stream? Why were we studying it? What's our driving question? What's the purpose? This should be at least a sentence, right? Tell me what the purpose of this whole study was for. Second thing you need to include is, what is your hypothesis? You need to include your hypothesis in your conclusion. You should say, my hypothesis was, and you write it out. That should be another sentence. Was your hypothesis supported or not? You should answer that question in a full sentence. You're using cups, you guys remember cups. Make sure you're answering this in a full sentence as well. Was your hypothesis supported? Was it not supported? It's okay if your hypothesis was not supported. That's not the point. The point is learning something. What did you learn or find out? Is there something that you learned from this stream study? You should include that in your conclusion. Make sure you have at least a sentence or two about what you learned or found out. Okay, this one's the biggie. That's why it's in all caps. What is your evidence? You all have an evidence chart. Those are the 3 pieces of evidence that you should be including in this conclusion. All 3 pieces. Don't miss one. Now, this is evidence that we've collected in class. It's all scientifically done. Ratings, measurements, seeing what the pH is, the conductivity, that kind of stuff. This is not an opinion. You cannot say, my evidence is the water is brown, so it has to be polluted. That's not evidence. That's a feeling. That's an opinion. Make sure you're using your evidence. Now, when you're including your evidence, I don't want you just to say our conductivity was blank, our pH was blank, and it's healthy. I want you to tell me, how do you know? That's the reasoning piece. Remember, on your evidence chart, you need reasoning. Tell me how you know that this is evidence that either supports or doesn't support your hypothesis. Okay, this is important. Tell me how the evidence works. How does it help you or reject your hypothesis? That should be, we have 3 pieces of evidence. That should be at least 3 sentences, okay? At least 3 sentences for what is your evidence. And finally, what is a new question that this study leads you to? So science doesn't just end, right? After we learn something, it usually helps us come up with some more questions. So what I want you to do is figure out a new question that we could investigate for a new study. Is this something that leads you to think about something else? What could we investigate now? So those are the things you need to include in your conclusion. I would suggest, as you write them down, as you type them in your Google Doc, that you check these off as you do them to make sure you have them complete. Finally, at the bottom, we have our rubric. The rubric is exactly how I'm going to grade you. So this is how I'm going to grade you. One category is the checkpoints, which are right up here. Checkpoints are important. So you'll get full points if all the checkpoints are included in the conclusion. Okay, 4 out of 4 on the scale. If you miss one checkpoint, you get a 3 out of 4. That will knock you down almost 10% just by missing one checkpoint. If you miss 2 checkpoints, you miss half the points on this. And if you miss 3 or more, you get 1 point. Okay, so make sure you're hitting these checkpoints. The second category is evidence. You need all 3 pieces of evidence in your conclusion. You don't want to skimp on the evidence. You don't want to miss any explanations. The evidence is really important. Science is evidence-based. You have to have evidence if you're going to make a claim. So if you're going to answer this question, is the Skunk River healthy? You need to have evidence. Make sure you're using the 3 pieces of evidence. If you have 3 pieces of evidence, you get a 4 out of 4. If you have 2 pieces of evidence, you get a 3 out of 4, so you're losing 10% on your grade right away. If you only have 1 piece of evidence, you get a 2 out of 4. You're losing quite a bit of points. And if you have no evidence at all, you get a 1 out of 4. Okay? Finally, spelling. Spelling and grammar. This is a conclusion that you have to type out. Spelling and grammar are important. So I want you to check your spelling. All these words that we've used are on our papers, right? I hand out papers all the time. The spelling's on them all the time. Make sure you're spelling things correctly. We want to seem like experts. There are not many people in the town of Pierce that know more about the health of the Skunk River than you guys. That's true. You guys are the experts. Make sure you come across as the experts. So minimal spelling errors, 1 to 2 errors, you get full points. Some spelling errors, 3 to 5 errors, you get 3 points. If you have many spelling errors, 5 to 10, you get 2 points. And if you need to use spell check, you didn't spell anything correctly, it's really, really bad. It's hard to read. You get a 1 out of 4. Don't lose points on the spelling. That's the easiest category to get points in. Okay? So you're going to have the entire class to work on this conclusion. Make sure you're using your time wisely. They are going to be due on Tuesday at the beginning of class. I want to make sure I can answer any lingering questions on Monday. Make sure you're all set to go. But you theoretically should be done with this conclusion. You shouldn't have to work on it on Monday. You should be able to turn it in fairly quickly. I would suggest not rushing through this, giving it your best effort. This is one of our biggest grades for the quarter. I want to make sure that it's really reflecting what you know, so don't lose easy points. I will see you guys on Monday, and I'm really excited to read your conclusions. I think we have a lot of good ideas floating around. I'm interested to see what you've learned. So have a great weekend, everyone, and if you're deer hunting this weekend, good luck and be safe.